Okay. Hey, all right. Hi, guys. Welcome. Yeah, well, I want to echo Katie and Steve did an awesome job welcoming you. If none of you, or if some of you don't know who I am, I'm Abby. I would love to meet you afterwards. Just come up and share your name. I have a goal to try to meet and know all of your names by the end of the school year, but I can't do that alone. I need your help. So please help me out. Come introduce yourself. If that's not your thing, make it your thing. I don't know, 2019. Push yourself out of your comfort zone. But anyway, I am so excited to be here with you guys tonight. I'm excited to continue our series of Mine, week 2. And we're jumping in, again, talking about what it looks like to make our faith our own. And I'm actually really excited to be able to share with you about what I'm talking about tonight. It's a huge part of my story. I grew up going to church, as a lot of you know, and so I kind of wrestled with, okay, what does it mean for this to be my own? Like, my parents drove me here every weekend. I had people in my family and important family friends that told me that this was the way to live life. Like, some of them were the only way, some of them were the best way. Regardless, this is what I knew. But it didn't feel like it was mine. And so you might be a person that's like, okay, Abby, yeah, I'm in the same place. Like, I'm asking the same questions. Like, yeah, my parents tell me this, or I've grown up doing this, but it just doesn't feel like mine. Or maybe some of you are like, okay, yeah, I'm here, but I'm not really sure about this Jesus thing. I'm not really sure about what he's asking of me, or what it means of me, or who he is, or maybe you know who he is, but you're wrestling with like what you have to do now. I just want to say you're welcome here. You're welcome here. I'm glad that you're here. No matter where you are on the spectrum of the things I just said, I'm glad that you're here. But I think we need to recognize and take a second to pray that Jesus would be fresh for all of us tonight. I want us to take a step back and realize, okay, yeah, we've sat in these seats, a lot of us, week after week. We hear things, but my hope is that we would be different when we leave. Maybe you've experienced that over the last couple of months if we've been doing teaching and 621 is different. Maybe there's something going on that's different in you. But maybe for the person sitting next to you or the person behind you, that hasn't been the case. And so I just want to take a moment and pause and pray us into that space. So if you would bow your heads with me. God, I just want to recognize that you're here. Holy Spirit, do your will. Use me as your vessel and speak through me. Whatever it means for the person sitting in their seat, I pray that you would just meet them new and fresh, that they would see you with new eyes, that they would hear you and understand what you're calling and asking of them. And they would know without a shadow of a doubt that they are loved by a Father in heaven who sent his Son to sacrifice his life for them, no matter what they do. We pray this in Jesus' powerful name, amen. All right, awesome, I'm glad. So now we're all starting like right here, right? We're on ground zero, we're moving up. We're all on the same understanding. I kind of built a foundation, so we're ready. With that said, I kind of alluded to this. I want you to know that if you're here, I'm so glad you're here. I know I said that, but I can't say it enough. I'm so glad you're here. But maybe you're not really sure about this whole faith thing. You know, as we're talking about mine, you're like, okay, well, I don't even know if I'm in. How can I say that it's mine and then do something about it? So if that's you and that's the case, or if you are all in for Jesus and you're really excited and you're like, yes, Abby, please teach me how I can go deeper in this faith thing, this is a time and a teaching for you. It doesn't matter who you are or what you're coming from or where you're at. Like, this is something that is relevant for you. I've taken the time, I've done the preparation, and I'm speaking to you. And so I'm just asking you to travel along with me. If you haven't done that in the past, give this a chance, and I'm excited to jump in. So Steve set us up really well last week. We're talking about making our faith our own, and you guys are in a really fun stage of life right now, right? School is still a thing, but you're figuring out who you are. You're trying different things, you're trying different activities, you're making different friends. You're discovering who you are. And discovering your faith and what that means to you is a part of all that. But the thing is that maybe you grew up going to Life Kids or another church in elementary Sunday school, and knowing about Jesus and hearing the stories, it just isn't enough anymore. That means that doing something with what we hear is important. It can't be enough to just hear it and know it. We have to respond and do something. You guys are getting to the place in life that it's time to respond, and you're doing that in other parts of your life, so why wouldn't you do that with your faith? So I just talked for a little bit, and I want to hear from you guys. So we're going to do a little participation. So I'm going to ask you to raise your hand if what I say is relevant for you. I'm going to give you the instruction. It's going to be really easy. All you have to do is raise your hand if what I say you're in agreement with. So raise your hand if you like doing things with your friends. Oh, yeah. Why wouldn't we like doing things with our friends? That's why they're our friends, right? We like hanging out. Okay, awesome. So we like doing things with our friends. Raise your hand if you like doing things with people you love, like you actually enjoy doing things and being with them. Okay, again, same foundation. Raise your hand if you have become interested in something only because one of your friends was interested in it. Yeah, me too. All the superhero things, that was not a part of my life before I moved here. It's a very big thing here, and I want to fit in, and so now I'm working on watching all of the movies. Thank you. Okay, but keep that in mind, because where we're going, we need to remember that it's important, and we like doing things with our people, and we do things because of our people. I think that it's important to say that experiencing our faith for myself doesn't mean that I'm experiencing it by myself. So if I'm experiencing it for myself, it doesn't mean I'm by myself. So here's what I'm going to say. We live in a culture that is all about independence, right? We got to do something by ourselves. We have a church culture that talks about a personal relationship with Jesus. And I think we did ourselves a disservice by creating this understanding that we have to figure this out alone. Like, okay, I need to read my Bible, and I need to understand it. Obviously, if I'm reading it, I should understand it. Okay, they talk about prayer, but I've never really asked about it, but I don't really know, but I'm supposed to be doing it. So yeah, prayer, okay, I can do that, but I'm going to do it by myself. And I feel like we've perpetuated this idea that we, in order to live a faithful life of Jesus as ourself, that we have to do it alone. Well, I'm here to tell you that that is not the case. And I hope that you feel a huge sigh of relief, because you guys, that was me. When I was growing up in middle school and high school, I was learning very similar things that we've been talking about, and I thought that I had to have it figured out. But the reality is that, in fact, if you need to have a solid faith, you need other people. You need other people, just like if you need to learn math, or if you need to learn how to drive a car, or if you need to do anything successful in life, you need other people. That's why we have parents, right? That's why we have adults in our life that teach us how to do things like make grilled cheese, or maybe do our laundry. I know. If I did laundry without my mom teaching me, I probably wouldn't do laundry, because it's hard. Also, side note, the first time I did laundry, I mixed up the soap stuff for bleach. I was not doing my own laundry, it was my parents' laundry. So if you need help and tips and tricks on laundry, ask anyone but me. But really, guys, I want to stress the fact that I feel like we've perpetuated this idea that it's a personal faith, we're on our own, and that's not the case. If we're going to make this faith mine, if it's going to become something that's a part of you, you're going to need people to support you and help you figure out what that looks like along the way. The reality is that we live in a culture that perpetuates this idea too, right? We have social media and we experience people on screens. Like, I think I know what people from high school are doing because I can check their Facebook. I'm like, oh, she had another kid, that's so exciting. I haven't talked to her in like 7 years. I don't know her. So if I'm not really connected to her, but I think I know her, like we don't have a relationship. It's just perpetuating this idea that we're close. We don't feel close. It feels like we're alone. Our faith is not like that. Our church body, why we gather in this place, why we come together to learn together, is so that we're not alone. In fact, Jesus told us, he promised that he was going to leave us someone so that we wouldn't be alone. So I want us to turn John chapter 14, verse 15 and 17. Jesus is talking to his disciples, and he says this: if you love me, if you choose me, if you accept me as your Savior, keep my commandments, and I will ask this Father, and he will give you another advocate to help you and be with you forever, the Spirit of truth. The world cannot accept him because it neither sees nor knows him, but you know him, for he lives with you and he will be with you forever. Did you hear what I said? If you've ever felt lonely, I know that we say like, oh, God is with you. but he really is. And that's a huge part of what we talk about in this faith, in what we call Christianity, and choosing to walk with Jesus, is that we're never going to be alone. And so I want to define that really quick. Like, having faith doesn't mean that you're perfect, right? Those two things, again, something I believed in middle school, high school, I had to relearn. Like, knowing Jesus and following after him doesn't mean we always get it right. Doesn't mean we always choose the right thing. It means that when we do choose the wrong thing, we're still loved no matter what. It means that we can live knowing that we have a God who's given us promises, and he's going to fulfill those promises. Some of those things that he's promised us, we can look and see in the Bible. I have a couple examples. One of them is obviously just read. He's going to be with us. Another one is that we're going to live a full life. We're going to have peace and support, comfort, joy. And one of my favorite ones, unconditional love and acceptance. Sometimes I felt loved by people, like they do something that makes me feel like they love me, but they don't necessarily accept me. But I know that no matter what I do, Jesus accepts me. That I can go to him, even if I messed up, and I have had to confess, I've been wrestling with that the last couple weeks. He's going to accept me. That's what it means to not be alone. We're not alone in this faith. I believe all of these things. I believe in these promises because, yes, I have experienced them for myself, but I also have seen them in other people's lives. I've seen other people experience them. So remember, I said, in order for us to figure out this faith, we need other people, right? So I want to tell you about a couple people in my life that have helped shape my faith. Hopefully, build some examples maybe that you can think of people in your life. So the first one is my friend Megan. I met her in high school. I was a 10th grader, she was in 11th grade, so I thought it was really cool that she was hanging out with me. Megan was not like other people. She didn't wear shoes, which now I think is kind of funny, but at the time I thought was so legit. She was trying to spread awareness for people that don't own shoes. She had this bag that was made out of recycled trash from Africa, and she also had a wallet. She didn't have a wallet, she had a paperclip. She was one of those, I don't know, turn the world upside down because we need to stand up and change all the wrongs that are happening. So that was one thing that my parents, when they met her, she's like, oh, Megan, wow, okay. How's she gonna influence Abby? Megan was one of the most accepting, loving, and beautiful people I've ever experienced. And here's why. She never treated me differently for the age difference or the kind of our life were different or how I chose to live my life. But instead, she walked with me in life and shared why she made the decisions that she made, or why she had the weird bag or didn't wear shoes. And I'll never forget, her family was going through a really hard time. A lot of brokenness. Her parents were divorced, and her brother was getting into a lot of trouble. And I remember hearing it and feeling really broken for her. And I remember these words. She says, "It's going to be okay because I know that no matter what, God is good. And I trust that." And my 10th grade self thought, if this person who's my age can believe in something like that because she's seen someone else believe it, I want to believe that too. I want to believe in a God that no matter what is going on in my life, I know that it's going to be okay, even if it's not my definition of okay. But I wouldn't have believed that if I didn't have Megan in my life. Because she was that example for me. She was that example of truth and turned me and solidified that understanding in my life. That God would again come up and bring in other people to remind me. But she was the starting point from that one. I also had a small group leader in high school. Her name was Kelly. I just want everyone to pray for Kelly. She was the most understanding person. She sat with me. I was a crier. I'm a big crier. All through high school I cried. That's all I remember, honestly. I don't know what the deal with that was. Really emotional. For every time, retreat after retreat after retreat, after camp, after small group, I wrestled with God, and I read the Bible, and I was like, how does he expect me to do all these things? He tells me he loves me, and he's all these grace, but then he has all these rules. I don't understand that. I don't know how to be what he wants me to be. And Kelly sat with me, and she would listen to me cry, and she would just consistently remind me of the gospel, even though I didn't hear it. I think back to it, and she kept saying to me, Abby, it's not about what you do. It's about what Jesus did. And I wish that blew my brain then, but it didn't. I still wrestled with it. But I don't want that for you. I want you to know, because the people around you remind you that it's not about what you do, it's about what Jesus did. But we need those reminders, those people to remind us of those things, because we're so forgetful, right? Does anybody use reminders on their phone? Consistently, if I'm in a conversation with you and I take out my phone, 9 times out of 10, I'm reminding myself to tell myself to do what I just told you I was going to do for you. If you followed that, we're going to be best friends. The list goes on, guys. I could talk about my parents and the role that they played for like probably hours. They're amazing. They watch me do these teachings. I'm really excited. I hope they hear my shout out. Professors, when I went to school, how they poured into me and taught me things. Different teachers that I've had. I listened to some podcasts, authors, like all these different ways, all these people, I can look back and see how the time that I was listening to them, God used them to intersect what they were saying to overcome lies that I believed, to affirm doubts that I had, or to affirm the truth and the doubt that I had, to remind me of who I am, to remind me of who God is. I needed these people. But the reality is that these people, the examples that I'm all giving you, were really positive for me. And that's kind of how it works, right? Like, we have people that are positive influences in our life. They push us in a positive direction. But then we can also have people that are negative and perpetuate bad habits that we have, or encourage us to make choices we know we shouldn't. It goes both ways. We can have the positive, we can have the negative. Now, I don't want you guys to tune out and think that I'm going to be talking about, oh, like, okay, if you have people that are telling you to do things that you know you shouldn't, like, check your Snapchat best friends, like, delete some people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm asking you to consider who is closest to you and how they're building you up. I want us to take a look at Proverbs 13:20. Proverbs is an ancient book of wisdom. We can find it in the Old Testament. So it's all these really smart, much smarter than me people writing down truth and reminding us of it. So in chapter 13, verse 20, it says, "Walk with the wise and become wise, for a champion of fools suffers harm." So it might be an ancient book, but I feel like that sounds like something we could reword, make modern. We can all think of someone in our life that started hanging out with people that were maybe not someone they should have been hanging out with, and they started making some decisions, and so the story goes. We can look at examples. Maybe that's not happening in your life, and that's awesome. It probably will. But we can look at examples in the Bible. We can look at how Jesus spent time with people, how Paul brought people along with him. I mean, heck, we can even think of some celebrities, right? Like, anybody remember a Disney Channel star who was like, oh, I want to be them? And then like 5 years later, like, whoa, no. Okay? I wanted Miley Cyrus' hair like no one's business, guys, and then she cut it all off, and that's the ultimate sin to me, I think. But in all seriousness, there are people we can point to people in our lives or in our experiences, maybe in what we're reading, and see that truth play out. But maybe you need to hear it in a different way. So our guy Paul, he wrote to the Corinthians in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And you've got to remember, the Corinthians were people, Paul's writing to them to encourage them because they're struggling breaking habits that they shouldn't be doing anymore because of who they have this faith in Jesus and they need to make some changes in their life. But they're struggling because the people around them are still making those decisions. And so Paul addresses them and he says, "Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character." Good old Paul, laying it out for us. Doesn't sugarcoat it. Says it like it is. In other words, if you want to be moving in a better direction, if you want to be strengthening your faith, if you want to be making certain choices in your life, surround yourself with people that want that same thing. And believe me, I know that it's easier said than done. I had a best friend in middle school. Her name was Jordan. She had fiery red hair. I thought it was awesome. We were inseparable. Literally in middle school, which I would ride to her house. She lived in a different subdivision, so it was 25-minute bike ride. I asked my parents if I could go, but if I wasn't home, I was on my bike or at Jordan's house. Like, I was en route to her house. We were literally inseparable. I loved spending time with her. We were both swimmers, so we were always together in the pool. We challenged each other to be better at that. We had the same homeroom teacher, which was awesome because then we got to talk about all the things that were happening throughout the day. And we were both really active in our youth group, too. So it was like every single thing that was important to me was important to Jordan. And so we got to share, and I felt safe and accepted, like, at all the things that were important to me. We were moving in the same direction. And so that was 6th through 8th grade. Then we get into high school, and we're all excited. We're making up plans. We've seen all the movies. We're like, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to own this car. And when we go to this dance, we're going to wear this dress. We had all these plans. And then my freshman year, 9th grade, Jordan met some new friends who made some decisions that I knew I didn't want it to be a part of my life. And I made that really clear to her, and she still wanted to be friends with them, which was fine. And someone that was we were inseparable, guys, seriously. I mean, it was kind of gross. She was a stranger by the end of 9th grade. It was really hurtful. And it still affects my friendships today. And I'm not saying that, like, okay, Abby, because she started running with these people, like, no, the habits that she started in 9th grade, like, still continue to affect her life. And I know this because of Facebook. She's still struggling. And I'm not saying that causation equals correlation, but I know where I'm at and the choices that I made and how they were different than the ones that she made. So here's what I want to say. You know, Jesus calls us to love everyone, but we don't just hang out with everyone. We don't just date anyone. We don't just trust everyone's advice. If the people around us affect us so much, then we need to take care and be careful about who those people are. So, side note, if you've given Jesus a chance in the past, you're like, okay, Abby, I've like done this Jesus thing and it didn't work out. Like, I thought God was going to show up and it didn't happen, and so now I'm kind of over it. First of all, been there, and it sucks. But I want to challenge you to take a step back and maybe think that maybe it didn't work out or the way that you thought it was supposed to, but maybe you didn't give God enough of a chance because of the people in your life. Just going to leave that there. Been there. I want us to take one more look at the ancient wisdom in Proverbs, chapter 27, verse 17. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. So, reality check, we don't really work a lot with metals. If you do, you're really cool, a lot cooler than me. I had to look up what that really means because, like, you just rub metal together. I don't know. That's what my mind pictured. It's a lot of work to sharpen metal. Like, you have to take the iron, and there has to be a sharper metal, and you, like, rub them together, but there has to be friction, and, like, it takes time, consistency, and dedication. Has your effort to making your faith your own taken time, consistency, and dedication? Have we given it a chance as much as we wanted to sharpen the iron? Have we given God that much of a chance? Have you put in the time? Have you asked the question? Have you pushed yourself out of your comfort zone? Have you been patient to see what God would do? If not, then maybe it's time for you to get another try and give God a real try this time. If you want a faith of your own, you can't build it alone. And in order to sharpen iron, you need to rub it against a harder, a stronger metal. We need stronger people in our life to make us stronger. And we think that, we prioritize that, we believe in that. We put you guys in small groups for like 45 minutes. We believe in this community time of you guys being together, asking the questions, and encouraging each other to grow. Every time you meet, it sharpens each other. It builds trust. It builds communication. And you making the decision to engage in your small group is like you saying, okay, God, I know I can't create these relationships on my own, but I trust that if I put myself out there, you can make change happen. Some of you are experiencing this in your small groups already this year, and it's awesome. It is so fun to watch. It's so fun to celebrate with your leaders, and I continue to pray every day that that happens. But some of you are the barrier to that happening in your small group, and so I ask you this. What if you gave it a chance? Maybe you need to show up mentally and not just physically to your small group. Maybe it's a minute to put your phone down, to take a break, and really give it a shot. Maybe you need to show up for someone outside of your small group, outside of 621. Maybe you've been holding back because you're like, I don't really know these people, like what if they think this about me? But if you never try, you guys, the answer is always gonna be no. And I challenge you, it'll be worth it. Because we're a community of people striving for the same thing, talking about the same thing, on the same page. And when that's true, things happen. Maybe you need some one-on-one attention. Maybe you need a small group leader, and you need to have a conversation because life is rough. That's why our leaders show up, because they want to help you navigate these kind of things. They want to point you back to Jesus. They want to remind you. They want to sharpen your faith. And they want to help you build your faith and make it your own. Just like you need sharpening, growing, wise relationships in your life, it's possible that someone else, probably a friend, needs a faith-building relationship with you and theirs. When you show up each week at your small group, you're saying yes to those kinds of relationships. You not only get those kinds of relationships, but you become that kind of friend who can give those relationships. So maybe it's time you pray and you sit with God, set aside some time to open your eyes to show you how you can build faith in someone else by sharing how you're building your faith in yourself. When you guys came in today, you found hopefully 2 little Post-it notes and a Sharpie marker. I know that some of you guys were drawing on yourselves. I knew that was going to be a problem, and I hope they're beautiful. That was me. But I hope also you noticed that the walls were a little pushed back. We're going to do a little activity. So the band's actually going to come out, and they're going to play some music behind us. But I want to give you guys an opportunity to sit and think about one person that you want to grow in relationship with. So who are you going to ask to help you sharpen your own faith? And that's on one sticky note. And on the other one, I would like you to think of someone that you want to spend more time with to help them sharpen their faith. So as it comes in and we get to the blessing and experience the promise of that in our own life, how are we taking that blessing and blessing someone else's life? So you guys are going to have a minute and a half to write out those names, and then there are poster boards on the side for you to stick them up there. And then the band is going to come out, finish us with a song, and then I'll close us out and head us to small group.